Let's discover the real lives of the mighty Morphin Power Rangers cast after the show ended. From shocking losses and legal battles to quiet reinventions and unexpected comebacks, their journeys became far more dramatic than anything we saw on screen. Trust me, their transformation will truly shock you. Paul Schrier, as Farkas Bulkmeyer. Farkas Bulkmeyer, the loud, overconfident bully in Mighty Morphin Power Rangers, was played by Paul Schrier. At 23 years old in 1993, he embodied the comic antagonist who stumbled through every episode. His suspenders, exaggerated bravado, and constant humiliation became part of 90s television history. What looked like slapstick comedy would end up defining his public identity for decades. Born June 1, 1970, in Las Vegas, Nevada, Paulus Laurentius Schrier II entered a franchise that exploded beyond anyone's expectations. The show's sudden global success locked him into the role for 7 consecutive seasons, making him the last original cast member to leave. While millions recognized his face, casting opportunities outside the franchise remained limited. He pushed back by directing episodes of Power Rangers, helming 16 episodes of Hello Kitty, and creating the short film An Easy Thing, later lending his voice to Mighty Magiswords in an attempt to expand beyond Bulk. On October 6, 1999, he married Carissa Hernandez, choosing long-term stability while navigating an industry that often typecasts aggressively. Convention appearances became both a lifeline and a reminder that his greatest success was tied to a character created in his early 20s. As nostalgia for the 90s grew, so did his presence in fan culture, yet mainstream Hollywood rarely shifted its perception of him. The most difficult years were not marked by scandal, but by creative limitation. Being strongly identified with one role can secure income while quietly closing other doors. Even as he built experience behind the camera, the industry frequently circled back to Bulk. The irony is sharp. The comic bully who was constantly humiliated on screen became professionally boxed in by the same fame that made him recognizable. Today, Paul Schrier is 56 years old and continues working through directing projects and Power Rangers conventions. His estimated net worth is around $1 million, built largely from his long-running association with the franchise. Jason Narvy as Eugene Skullovich. Eugene Skullovich, the awkward, nervous half of the bully duo in Mighty Morphin Power Rangers, was portrayed by Jason Narvy. At 19 years old in 1993, he gave Skull a fragile sincerity beneath the comedy. His stutters and wide-eyed panic balanced the action-driven storyline. Few expected that the teenager behind Skull would later choose a path far removed from television fame. Born March 27, 1974, in Los Angeles, California, Jason Andrew Narvy trained at the Lee Strasberg Theater Institute before the series became a cultural phenomenon. He continued portraying Skull across Power Rangers Zeo, Turbo, and In Space, and appeared in Mighty Morphin Power Rangers, the movie. As the franchise peaked, he stepped away to complete his education, eventually earning a Ph.D. in theater studies from the University of California, Santa Barbara, a move that stunned fans who assumed he would remain in commercial television. On March 26, 2005, he married Amy Schnetzer, building a stable family life while reshaping his professional identity. Rather than chasing recurring television fame, he immersed himself in academic theater, performing Shakespearean roles such as Henry V and Hamlet. The transition was dramatic, from slapstick television icon to stage-trained scholar. The most uncertain period came during that transition. Walking away from a recognizable franchise meant stepping into financial and professional unpredictability. Instead of relying solely on royalties, he committed to scholarship, stage combat certification, and university teaching. Now, Jason Narvy is 52 years old and works as an assistant professor of acting, directing, and musical theater at East Stroudsburg University. His estimated net worth is approximately $800,000 earned through acting royalties and academic work. David Yost, as Billy Cranston. Billy Cranston, the Blue Ranger and scientific genius in Mighty Morphin Power Rangers, was played by David Yost. At 24 years old in 1993, he became the intellectual core of the team. His character remained the only original Ranger to appear in every single episode of the first 4 seasons. Born January 7, 1969, in Council Bluffs, Iowa, David Harold Yost grew up moving across states, winning gymnastics championships in Iowa and Montana before earning a degree in communication and dramatic arts. 3 months after arriving in California, he secured the role that would define him. Mighty Morphin Power Rangers. The movie grossed over $60 million, cementing his global visibility. Yet behind the success, tension brewed on set. As the franchise evolved into Power Rangers Zeo, Billy was removed from Ranger duties and reduced to technical advisor. Yost later revealed the reason: relentless harassment over his sexuality. Crew members reportedly called him slurs and questioned his worth, telling him he could not be a superhero because he was gay. After contemplating suicide, he walked away from the series late in its 4th season. He later endured 2 years of conversion therapy, suffered a nervous breakdown, and spent 5 weeks in psychiatric hospitalization before leaving the country to recover. That period marked the darkest chapter of his life. He eventually accepted his sexuality and returned stronger, producing projects like Temptation Island and working on Alien Hunter while advocating publicly for LGBTQ+ visibility. His performance in the AIDS-focused stage production Fallen Guardian Angels raised over $25,000 for charity, and he later returned to the franchise in Mighty Morphin Power Rangers, Once and Always and Cosmic Fury, reclaiming the legacy once used to silence him. In 2026, David Yost is 57 years old and active as a producer and franchise collaborator. His estimated net worth is around $1.5 million, built from production work and convention appearances. Amy Jo Johnson as Kimberly Ann Hart. Kimberly Ann Hart, the Pink Ranger and emotional heart of Mighty Morphin Power Rangers, was played by Amy Jo Johnson. At 23 years old in 1993, she became one of the most recognizable faces of 90s television. Her athleticism and charisma defined the early seasons. Behind the bright pink suit, however, the experience was far from glamorous. Born October 6, 1970, in Hyannis, Massachusetts, Amy Jo Johnson was raised in a working-class household by Greg Johnson Sr. and Christine Johnson. Financial strain shaped her early years, yet she pursued gymnastics and later formal acting training in New York before moving to Los Angeles. Within months, she secured the role of Kimberly. Despite the show's massive success, she was paid only $600 per week, received no royalties, and performed dangerous stunts, nearly being set on fire during filming and nearly electrocuted during Turbo, a Power Rangers movie. She left the series in 1995, exhausted by safety risks and limited pay. Her career rebounded with leading roles in Felicity and later Flashpoint, where she earned a Gemini Award nomination. She expanded into directing with films like The Space Between and Tammy's Always Dying, and built a parallel career as a musician with albums including The Trans-American Treatment and Never Broken. The transition from teen icon to serious filmmaker was gradual but deliberate. In 2009, she married Olivier Giner, and they raised a daughter together. The marriage ended in divorce in 2017, following years of balancing motherhood, directing and acting across 2 countries after becoming a Canadian citizen. The separation was quiet but painful, arriving during a period of professional reinvention. Today, Amy Jo Johnson is 56 years old and continues acting, directing, and releasing music, including her recent EP, Still Here. Her estimated net worth is around $300,000, a modest figure compared to the global impact of her early fame. Walter Emanuel Jones as Zach Taylor. Zach Taylor, the original Black Ranger in Mighty Morphin Power Rangers, was played by Walter Emanuel Jones. At 23 years old in 1993, he brought the character to life with his signature hip-hop kiddo style. His dance-infused martial arts gave the team rhythm and attitude. That energy helped define the first season's identity. Born November 30th, 1966, in Detroit, Michigan, Walter Emanuel Jones grew up in an urban environment marked by hardship and racial tension. At just 4 years old, he lost the middle finger on his left hand in a gun accident. He once dreamed of joining the U.S. Air Force, but was rejected due to the injury. After Power Rangers became a hit, contract and pay disputes led to his sudden departure mid-season 2, shocking fans. He later appeared in shows like Sabrina the Teenage Witch, The Shield, and films including House of the Dead 2 and Popstar. Never Stop, Never Stopping. His personal life was quieter but not untouched by strain. Long filming hours and unstable industry income reportedly contributed to failed relationships. Professional reinvention became his focus, rather than tabloid headlines. Career highs and lows alternated. He voiced characters in Open Season 2 and Cloudy with a Chance of Meatballs 2, appeared in House Party 2023, and returned as Zack in Mighty Morphin Power Rangers, Once and Always, reclaiming the role nearly 3 decades later. He also pursued music under the name Trey Emanuel and continued teaching dance, holding on to the physical expression that first made him stand out. Now, Walter Emanuel Jones is 56 years old and continues working as an actor, dancer, and voice performer. His estimated net worth is around $500,000, earned through acting roles, voice work, conventions, and dance instruction. Austin Street. John as Jason Lee Scott. Jason Lee Scott, the first Red Ranger and original team leader in Mighty Morphin Power Rangers, was played by Austin Street John. At 19 years old in 1993, he became the disciplined face of the franchise. His martial arts background mirrored his character's authority. For millions of children, he was leadership in red armor. Born September 17, 1974, in the United States to a U.S. Marine father, Jason Lawrence Geiger grew up moving constantly due to military life. Discipline came early, but stability did not. Trained in Taekwondo, Judo, and Kenpo, he entered the show with real combat credentials. The series' global success brought fame but little financial security, and long, non-union hours strained the cast. He left the show during Season 2 over contract and pay disputes, later reprising Jason in Power Rangers Zeo and the Forever Red special. His adult life moved beyond television. He worked as a martial arts instructor and even served as a paramedic, earning community recognition for emergency response work. Marriage and fatherhood brought responsibility, but financial strain followed inconsistent acting opportunities. Independent films like A Walk with Grace and Tres Leches kept him visible, yet the stability of early fame never returned in the same way. The most shocking chapter came decades later. In May 2022, he was federally indicted in a CARES Act fraud case involving alleged misuse of Paycheck Protection Program funds. In April 2024, he pleaded guilty, and in May 2025, he was sentenced to 5 years of probation and ordered to pay over $225,000 in restitution. The Red Ranger, who once symbolized integrity, now faced public legal consequences. In 2026, Austin St. John is 52 years old and continues working as a martial arts instructor and convention guest under court supervision. His estimated net worth is approximately $400,000, derived from training, appearances, and limited acting projects. Jason David Frank as Tommy Oliver. Tommy Oliver, the Green Ranger who later became the White Ranger in Mighty Morphin Power Rangers, was played by Jason David Frank. At 20 years old in 1993, he turned a temporary villain into the character fans refused to let go of. That twist made him the face of the franchise for decades. Born September 4, 1973, in Covina, California, Jason David Frank grew up in a home shaken by divorce, and the instability pushed him toward martial arts as something he could control. By the time he reached television, his popularity forced the writers to bring him back beyond the planned run, and the momentum carried into Mighty Morphin Power Rangers, the movie, 1995, and later seasons. Away from the show, he built legitimacy in the martial arts world, earning honors such as induction into major halls of fame and becoming known for creating his own hybrid system. Shauna Frank became his first wife in 1994, and they had 3 children before the marriage ended in 2001, leaving him with a public image that stayed heroic while his private world fractured. In 2003, he married Tammy Frank, and they had 1 daughter, but the pressure never fully lifted. In 2022, she filed for divorce even as they were reportedly trying to reconcile. The pain wasn't quiet. Custody tension, relationship collapse, and the constant demands of fame stacked year after year. Depression became the shadow that followed him, and it did not care about his trophies or his fan base. The same intensity that made him unstoppable in a fight became dangerous when turned inward, especially during isolation and emotional strain. Even achievements like the Black Belt Hall of Fame honor could not act as armor against a mind turning on itself. Jason David Frank died on November 19, 2022, at age 49, found by suicide in a hotel in Houston, Texas. His estimated net worth before his death was about $1.2 million, built from decades of acting, martial arts, and conventions where fans lined up to touch a piece of their childhood. Thuy Trang as Trini Quan. Trini Quan, the original Yellow Ranger in Mighty Morphin Power Rangers, was played by Thuy Trang. At 20 years old in 1993, she gave the team its calm center and quiet wisdom. That balance made her unforgettable. Born December 14, 1973, in Saigon, Vietnam, Thuy Trang's life began in the aftershock of war and separation. Her father, an officer in the South Vietnamese military, escaped in 1975 and was forced to leave the family behind. In 1979, at just 5 years old, Thuy and her mother and siblings boarded a cargo ship to Hong Kong in a journey so brutal it nearly killed her. She became gravely ill, and at one point, other passengers thought she had died and wanted her body thrown overboard until her mother stopped them. The family finally reunited in the United States in 1980 and settled in California, where she had to learn English and rebuild identity from scratch, later training in Shaolin Kung Fu and earning a black belt while trying to survive cultural isolation. She was selected from hundreds of actresses to become the Yellow Ranger and appeared in 80 episodes from 1993 to 1994, then left mid-season 2 alongside Austin St. John and Walter Emanuel Jones after contract and pay disputes. The decision was risky. The franchise was massive, but the pay was non-union and the merchandise machine around them was worth far more than their salaries. She pushed forward anyway, taking roles like Kaylee in The Crow, City of Angels, 1996, and appearing in Spy Hard, 1996, trying to prove she could be more than a childhood icon. Her final stretch was defined by ambition colliding with time. Projects planned with former co-stars never materialized, and Hollywood's narrow casting for Asian actresses limited momentum just as she tried to break out. She kept going anyway, carrying herself like someone who had already survived worse than rejection. Sadly, Thuy Trang died on September 3, 2001, at age 27, after a car accident on Interstate 5 in California. The vehicle lost control and crashed violently, and although a helicopter rushed her toward medical care, she died on the way to the hospital. Her estimated net worth before her death was about $100,000, a devastating contrast to the cultural impact she left behind. She was cremated on September 10, 2001, and her ashes were scattered or interred at Rose Hills Memorial Park in Whittier, California. Richard Genelle as Ernie, the warm, steady juice bar owner in Mighty Morphin Power Rangers, was played by Richard Genelle. At 32 years old in 1993, he became the friendly face behind the Angel Grove Youth Center counter. His calm presence made the chaos feel real, and that's why his absence later felt so cold. Born October 12, 1961 in New York, Richard Michael Genelle grew up under financial strain that pushed him to work harder, faster, and longer than people could see. When Power Rangers became a phenomenon, he carried 4 seasons of consistency, then continued into the era around Power Rangers Zeo and even Turbo, a Power Rangers movie, 1997. Off-screen, Rosa Isela Sanchez became his wife on August 19, 1995, and their marriage was steady in a world that rarely is. They had 2 children, and the family life looked like the one thing fame couldn't shake. Yet the demands of health, work, and responsibility didn't disappear just because the audience loved him. As the years passed, the turning point came with cigarettes and obesity, 2 quiet enemies that don't announce themselves until it's too late. He left the show to focus on quitting smoking and losing weight, dropping more than 40 pounds, then founded Retail Logistics Solutions Incorporated. In Cerritos, California, building a transport business with the intensity of someone trying to outrun a clock. It's unsettling how his character left the youth center on screen for volunteer work, while in real life, he was leaving to survive. Richard Genelle died at 47 years old on December 30, 2008, from a heart attack in Corona, California. His estimated net worth before his death was about $200,000, painfully small compared to the cultural footprint he left behind. He was cremated at Pierce Brothers Crestlawn Memorial Park and Mortuary in Riverside, California, and his ashes were interred there. Robert Axelrod as Lord Zed. Voice. Lord Zed, the terrifying main villain of Mighty Morphin Power Rangers, was voiced by Robert Axelrod. At 44 years old in 1993, he gave the franchise a menace that sounded colder than metal. Kids feared Zed, but they never saw the man paying the price behind the curtain. Born May 29, 1949 in New York City, Robert William Axelrod grew up with little security, and that early hardship sharpened his hunger to perform. He built a career across decades of voice work, Digimon, animated Spider-Man, and countless other characters, often credited under names like Axel Roberts and Myron Mensah. He also appeared on camera in The Blob, 1988, proving he wasn't only a voice. In the industry, he became a workhorse. Over 150 characters, constant booth time, constant demand. Then the body began to fail him. Parkinson's became the shadow that followed his later years, and in 2018 he underwent spinal surgery that would change everything. The complications didn't just limit movement, they threatened the very tool that made him legendary. For someone who made a generation fear Lord Zed, the final enemy was invisible and unbeatable. Sadly, he died at 70 years old on September 7, 2019 in Los Angeles, California, after complications linked to that spinal surgery, with Parkinson's casting a long, brutal backdrop. His estimated net worth before his death was about $500,000, modest for a man whose voice lived inside childhoods worldwide. Barbara Goodson as Rita Repulsa. Voice. Rita Repulsa, the shrieking, unforgettable empress of evil in Mighty Morphin Power Rangers, was voiced by Barbara Goodson. At 44 years old in 1993, she turned a dubbed Japanese villain into an American pop culture icon. Behind that explosive voice stood a woman far more disciplined than the chaos she created. Born August 16, 1949, in Brooklyn, New York, Barbara Dale Goodson grew up in a household where both parents worked constantly, leaving her to carve attention through mimicry and performance. That instinct became a weapon in the studio. She lent her voice to Akira, Sailor Moon, and later Star Wars, The Clone Wars, where her portrayal of Mother Talzin earned her a Best Actress honor from behind the voice actors. Her marriage to Bruce Gustafson began on May 12, 1984, and endured decades in a business that rarely allows that stability. They raised one son, Andrew Gustafson, while she balanced long recording hours and constant character reinvention. As the years moved forward, she never faded into nostalgia. She reprised Rita in Mighty Morphin Power Rangers, once and always, stepping back into the cackle that once terrified a generation. Awards followed, an Annie nomination for Cloudbread, an Earphones Award for audiobook narration, proof that her voice carried far beyond Angel Grove. Today, Barbara Goodson is 77 years old and still working, refusing retirement with the same force she once screamed from the moon. Her estimated net worth stands around $1 million, built steadily from decades of voice work, conventions, and animation royalties. Carla Perez as Rita Repulsa, body. Rita Repulsa, the physical embodiment of wicked royalty in Mighty Morphin Power Rangers, was portrayed by Carla Perez. At 24 years old in 1994, she became the living, breathing body behind the villain's manic gestures. The audience saw Rita because of her. Born August 11, 1970, in Manila, Philippines, Carla Perez immigrated to the United States and grew up navigating language barriers and cultural adjustment in Tujunga, California. That early displacement forged discipline. Modeling and small acting jobs led her to Power Rangers, then to Power Rangers Zeo and Turbo, a Power Rangers movie, and even a comedic appearance in Spy Hard, 1996. Yet the industry rarely separated her from the green headdress and glittering costume that made her famous. On August 28, 2004, she married Matthew Camarillo, building a stable family life that included their daughter, Sophia. In contrast to the villain she embodied, her real world revolved around domestic routine and privacy. Fame did not explode into blockbuster fortune. Instead, it settled into conventions, guest appearances, and modeling work. As the franchise evolved, she reprised Rita's physical form across multiple seasons, including Power Rangers in Space, becoming inseparable from the character's image. Today, Carla Perez is 56 years old and continues modeling and attending fan events, maintaining a modest estimated net worth of about $300,000. She remains tied to the character that made her visible. Karen Ashley as Aisha Campbell. Aisha Campbell, the second Yellow Ranger in Mighty Morphin Power Rangers, was portrayed by Karen Ashley. At 19 years old in 1994, she stepped into the role during the height of the show's popularity. Replacing an original Ranger was a risk, and she carried it with fierce confidence. The audience saw strength, but few understood the pressure behind that smile. Born September 28, 1975, in Odessa, Texas, Karen Ashley Jackson grew up between ambition and expectation. Raised in Dallas in a family that valued discipline but had limited means. Before television fame, she was part of the girl group KRUSH, earning a platinum record for Let's Get Together on the Mo Money soundtrack. That early music success proved she could command a stage, yet Power Rangers changed everything overnight. Later appearances on Hangin' with Mr. Cooper and other sitcoms showed range, but the franchise shadow never disappeared. Her marriage to Kamani Ballard began on March 22, 2014, yet the path to stability was not smooth. She endured a painful divorce before finding balance again, and the strain of relationships under public scrutiny left visible scars. Between acting, producing Devon's Ghost, and co-writing Unto Thee, she tried to control her narrative. Success came in waves, but emotional cost followed close behind. Career shifts forced reinvention. She moved into producing, hosting radio, and returning to conventions where nostalgia both sustained and confined her. In 2023, she reprised Aisha in Mighty Morphin Power Rangers, Once and Always, a moment that stunned fans who had waited nearly 3 decades. Today, Karen Ashley is 51 years old and continues working as a singer, producer, and convention favorite with an estimated net worth of about $400,000. 33 years have passed since Mighty Morphin Power Rangers first exploded onto television screens in 1993, and the faces behind the helmets have changed in ways no one could have predicted. So after 33 years, who truly won the battle beyond Angel Grove? And who paid the highest price for fame? If this look back moved you, share your thoughts below. Tell us which Ranger impacted you most. And don't forget to subscribe for more untold stories behind the legends you grew up with.